Hello, everyone. I will now tell you the story of when I first used magic. Now, when I grew up in my little town of Belleville, my mother and father was, as you would call them, a wizard and an arcane trickster. Both of them could use magic. They had special knowledge and techniques of how to use the weave that surrounded us and transform it into magic. I, however, struggled with this. For all of the long 20 years that I lived at that town, my mother would tutor me frivolously to teach me her own magics. The magics of a wizard. I would study, I would read, I would do all the same hand gestures, but it didn't come to me as easily as it came to them. All the other things that my parents tried to taught me and school tried to taught me, I picked up pretty well. I could sort of shoot a bow, I could play instruments, that was pretty fun. But it was always the magic that I couldn't quite get down. Sometimes I could muster a little mage hand, or some semblance of a light spell, but it wasn't really casting magic. Now I will bring you to what was pretty much my last month in my town of Mellowville before I left to become an adventurer. It wasn't a great time for me. I was feeling kind of sad and I didn't know why. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to be a hero. I wanted to be like the people that I read about in the many stories that of the books that I had in my town. And I couldn't do that. I was just stuck staying in this small little town of Mellowville. I remember that there was a festival. I don't remember what festival it was celebrating, but there was a festival for some kind of holiday. And we were just having, you know, one of the normal times that we have. And this included a big feast in the center of town and a sort of, you would say, an open mic night in the center. We had a big stage where anyone, if they had any acts or performances or wanted to tell jokes, do whatever, could stand up and the entire town would be an audience of them. And they would usually be pretty nice and funny, or they would throw tomatoes at you, depending on the thing. And I was no stranger to this stage. I would often go up there, tell jokes, do a little fiddling, you know? And the town liked me. They thought my performances were pretty good. But I really wasn't feeling up to performing at this upcoming festival in the next couple days. So I told everyone I wasn't. Everyone would ask me, "Hey, Lori, are you performing up on that stage in the festival?" And I would say, "Nah, not really feeling it this week." My mom asked me, my dad asked me, everybody asked me, and I just wasn't feeling it. I would go with my friends. I'd even dress up nice, but I wasn't feeling performing. And then one of those days, right before the festival, I noticed there was a big commotion in the town, and I walked. See, when you live in a small town like Mellowville, there's not a lot of things that cause commotion, or the things that do cause commotions are like petty bullshit that you've sick of and you've had enough of. But everyone in the town was riling around this one spot. Obviously something had happened. So I tiptoed over with my friends to see what was going on, and it was a visitor, a new person, a traveling adventurer who had visited our little town of Mellowville. Someone much like the books that I have read. And I was instantly enamored. A new person, someone I'd never met before, somebody who wanted to see the town. And then I fell out of the tree that I was spying on him with, and it hurt a lot. But it wasn't as hurtful as it was embarrassing that he came over to help pick me up. So I talked to this adventurer, and one thing led to another, and he asked me if I was performing in said festival. And I, of course, said, "Of course I'm performing. Why wouldn't I be performing? Of course, I'm a performer. Of course I'm performing in the festival." So I got my box of props and my instruments, and I had to come up with a show in a couple of hours, and I did. I went to the festival. Everybody in my small town was there, and I was like, "Yeah, put me on the list. I'm gonna perform." So after a particularly interesting performance, I was up in the stage, and I immediately tripped over myself and fell face first onto the stage. I was horrified. I was mortified. I got up with my big box of props and tripped, and it fell everywhere. And I was sitting there, and I almost feel like I was about to cry. And then I heard the audience laugh. They thought it was a bit. They thought I fake fell and spilt everything as a bit. So I was like, all right, Lori, you could do this. You could do this. You could do this. So I got up and did my performances. And then there was one kid, one smarmy little asshole from my town. We were about 20, right? So I say kid, but you know, he had a lot of maturing to do. He made a comment about one of my jokes or performances about, you know, my breast. And, you know, I'll tell you something, chat. I have it's somewhat larger than average breast, you know? It just happened. I didn't make this happen. It just happened. Genetics be like that sometimes. But it's really not polite to make fun of someone for something they cannot control. So I reasonably roasted his ass in front of everyone. And I noticed my outburst of roasting this person got the most laughs out of anything else in my whole set. Roasting this guy. So, of course, everybody's laughing. I am on stage. I am having the time of my life. I continue. I don't stop at him. I roast other people in my town that I'm not naming specifics, but let's just say there are certain people in my town that deserve some roasting for some shady shit that they do. I point to them, I roast them. I point to someone, I roast it, and the crowd fucking loved it. And then I even went to my friends, roast them for the silly little things they collect, or the stupid little games they play, or the stupid comments, or you know, the cut of their jib even. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was saying or how people felt after I said it. I was just having a fun time. I thought I was just being funny. But then, one of my dearest friends, ran up to the stage and sort of talking to me from off stage, sort of told me that, you know, I should stop saying hurtful things, even though people were laughing because I was hurting someone's feelings. And of course, I, being the naive young person that I was, didn't listen and pointed my feelings towards her. And I said some things that I don't think anyone should really say about another person. It was hurtful, it was mostly not true, and it was a venting of my own feelings in a very unhealthy way. And as I pointed to her with my hand, and I said those mean things, I saw the light leave her eyes. I saw that my friend was there one moment, and then it's like she was empty the next. And she fell to the floor. I had unknowingly casted a spell on my friend and hurt her. The crowd stopped laughing. There was a silence in the air, a terrifying silence. It is a humbling feeling to be in front of a crowd that is adoring you one moment to looking at you in horror the next. There was immediate shouts and accusations of me doing it on purpose and me purposely hurting my friend in front of everyone. But luckily my mother and my father, who were respected adventurers and people in the town, ran up to my defense, and my mother had explained that I had never had even successfully casted any sort of spell before, and this was a fluke. And that the town was full of powerful healers and mages, and that this was only a temporary setback, and that no harm had really happened. And of course, other people in my town who were more experienced healers simply used their magic on my friend and brought her up, and she was fine. My dad snuck around and put a coat over me, and it was pretty intense. I cried that night. And, after that, I was really sad again. But to end this story on a positive note, I talked to the visitor who had, the adventurer who had came from this, and I talked to him. And he explained to me that my magic was not like any wizard he's ever seen, and I was something different. And I didn't really understand him at the time, and after a fun but awkward night with him, I will say. A couple of weeks later, my dad set me down and he explained to me that I was not a wizard, as he would know, as anyone would really define. and by the magic that I did, by the performing that I did, by my skills, by the way I talk to people, the way I can brighten people's spirits up, that I was what he had known as a bard. And I commanded bardic magic. Not magic that used the weave, the excess of magic flowing from the effervesce into the shadow realm, but a bard. Someone who could manipulate the emotional energies and magics within the world to produce amazing effects and feelings. Someone who could inspire. Someone who travels and tells stories and brings history to the world. I was a bard. And my destiny was not in the town of Mellowville, but out in the world of Crystalia. So after some trials and his blessing, I left. I left Mellowville to become an adventurer. And I did. And I like to think I became a damn good one. And then, you know, yada yada yada, a couple years of adventure later, I joined this party called the Red Legion. We fought a lich. The lich threw me through a portal in time. I landed in Times Square, New York City. Blah, 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 blah. And here I am in front of you today. That is the story of how I first used magic. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I didn't really write that story down. That's the first one I sort of told off memory. So I hope it was okay and good. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, I can answer them. I had written a 90-page document of basically that's what I summarized the last month basically that I was home. But I thought this was shortened version was nice. It's gonna be fire when I animate this. Aw, thank you, Dream. I hope you're friends and made events with each other. Yeah! Yeah. Was excellent. Thank you, Skybird. Shadow, did you... Aw. I didn't know that could still play. I don't know how to turn that off. I thought I turned it off. Shadow Reaper, you played the card and wanted to hear that story for a while, so I hope it was, I hope it matched your expectations. I was thinking it'd be a wondrous experience not killing a friend. Yeah, you know, sometimes magic's like that. Must have been traumatic. Yeah, I got over it. It's fine. She was okay. She was okay. Listen, I have killed plenty of people since then. I have a couple years of adventure under my belt. You know, after your body counts gets to like the 50s, you start to lose track. Because it was a great story. Aw, thank you. Since there's no, questions, I will, be ending this recording. But if you're watching this in the future on YouTube or something, please write down in the comments what you thought of the story. And, how you doing? Thanks so much, everybody, for watching and listening. And yeah,